Before we get into today's episode, I'd like to share a few updates on what's happening with Distinguished PE. First, I want to thank everyone who has been a guest this year for sharing their expertise with listeners. The teachers that you've heard from in this podcast spend hours of their own time preparing their episode, and I'm truly grateful that so many have been so generous with their time. This will be the last episode of the school year. We'll be back in August with more conversations from PE teachers doing incredible work in their schools and for their students. If you'd like to be a guest on a future episode, head over to the website, www.distinguishedpe.com, click on Podcast, and fill out the form at the bottom of the page. The Distinguished PE K-5 curriculum is now available for presale. This is a comprehensive, standards-based curriculum with daily content and language objectives, assessments, rubrics, and activity modifications for every lesson. Everything you've heard us talk about on this podcast or read about in the book is embedded in these lessons. The curriculum drops August 1st, and this presale gives you lifetime updates and access. No 1, 3, or 5-year licenses. This is the last curriculum you'll ever need to purchase. If you're preparing a proposal for funding from your school or district, the implementation guide is on the website and breaks down exactly what's included and what makes this curriculum so unique. It's work that I'm truly proud of, and I know you'll love it too. Our Distinguished PE virtual course starts in August. You can earn up to 18 graduate credits or 500 license renewal hours. Graduate credits can also be used toward a Master in Education degree at Colorado State University. This is a collaborative experience where you will work alongside other PE teachers from across the country who are committed to growth and reflection. Additional information, like descriptions of each session and meeting dates, along with how to register, can be found on the website by clicking on Virtual Course. The book, Distinguished Physical Education, is still 25% off on Amazon right now. We're celebrating 2 years since publication, so if you don't have a copy yet, go grab one and add it to your summer reading list. And lastly, if you facilitate PD at conferences and are interested in becoming a Distinguished PE Certified Facilitator, more information is available by clicking on Facilitator Certification on the website. My guest today is Amanda Flohrs, who has been teaching physical education for 14 years. She is currently a middle school health and physical education teacher in Owatonna, Minnesota. She graduated in 2011 with her degree in health and physical education and a minor in adapted PE. In 2021, she finished her master's in teaching, learning, and leadership from Southwest Minnesota State University, and she is also the 2025 Minnesota SHAPE Middle School Teacher of the Year. And now I bring you Amanda Flohrs. Amanda, I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really looking forward to talking to you today about how you incorporate non-traditional experiences into your curriculum and also how you partner with various organizations in your community. Let's start with how you create an inclusive space for your students so that all students feel welcome. I know that that's something that's really important to you. How do you ensure that the value of inclusivity is woven into your daily lessons? And can you share with listeners what that looks like in your gym?
Yes. So it's very important for me that all of my kids feel valued and welcomed. So I'm very specific about making a safe and welcoming environment. I greet the students at the door. I say hi to them. If they've been gone, I try and make a comment like, oh, it's good to see you again. We do a lot of team building at the very start of the year. We talk specifically about strengths and weaknesses and how everybody has a strength, everybody has a weakness. They will not like everything that we do in class, and that's okay, but they just need to try their best so that everybody can enjoy it. And throughout the year, really trying to find things that every kid likes so that they can be lifelong movers. And by doing lots of different options and activities, kids will usually find that thing that they're good at or that they find joy in. We talk a lot about it's okay if you're not the best because I'm not the best. I talk about, well, I'm not very good at shooting. I'm not a good basketball player. And just being open and honest with the kids that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay that you're not the best at it. You just have to try and do whatever your best looks like.
So you make sure that you provide opportunities for all students to feel safe and welcome in the gym, especially those students who might view the gym as an intimidating environment. How are they impacted by the routines that you set up?
So when I create my inclusive space and I talk about how everybody has strengths and weaknesses because we do such a wide variety of non-traditional things that usually every kid will find something that they're good at that they might not have known they were good at. I had a kid who hand-eye coordination was not his thing at all, but he was my best rock climber. And it was amazing to see the other kids cheer him on and welcome him. Like he was finally a part of the class because he found his thing that he was good at. So having lots of variety and lots of choices and lots of options so that everybody can finally find that thing that's going to keep them a lifelong mover.
That's awesome that you're able to provide students with those types of opportunities because if you only provided students with opportunities to play traditional sports, those types of students would be left behind and they wouldn't have those experiences, and their peers wouldn't see them in that light where they get a chance to be successful at something and then be celebrated by their peers. That must be something that's so powerful to see as their teacher.
It is. It's amazing to see. It's like a big coming together moment when everybody can finally cheer on the kid who struggled for so long.
Like I mentioned earlier, in your curriculum, you include a lot of non-traditional opportunities for students. What are some of those opportunities? What do they look like, and how do you sequence them throughout the year?
So we start with a lot of team building as our first, like, kind of non-traditional. And then because we are, part of Minnesota, a lot of our things are based on weather. So we do like a winter wonderland where we offer snowshoes and hot skis and fat tire biking. We do climbing wall, we have a cardio room, we have a pool. We have lots of different non-traditional activities. We do floor hockey, but we also do like scooter floor hockey. We did this new game that's called Whirly Ball. It's a fun adult game, but we do it with scooters and no drinking, which is more school appropriate.
Looking through your Instagram feed a little bit ago, I noticed that you post some videos and photos of some of these activities. If I'm not mistaken, there was one on there where you had students fishing in the gym. Does that sound
Oh,
familiar?
yes.
What does that look like?
So I started fishing a couple of years ago, and I noticed that kids didn't know how to cast. And casting was a very hard skill. And even though we are the land of 10,000 lakes, there's a lot of kids who have never gone fishing before. And out of that, I created this unit with these fake fish where they practice their casting skills. And then they try and reel in these fake fish that get stuck on this little mini fish, but it helps them with the casting, so when we are actually out at the lake, there is less time with me trying to get the lines out of the water and them actually actively fishing. So, that's been a lot of fun. I also brought in our STEM coordinator last year, and he showed the kids how to do fly fishing instead of just, like, a standard reel or open face one, so that was really cool. But yes, casting was a big one I was not aware of the first few years.
I think it's really incredible that you provide students with opportunities in PE to do things that are part of their community. This way, when they are outside of PE, whether it's when they graduate school or if it's just on the weekends with their friends, these are all things that students and adults do in your rural town of Minnesota, right? You said an hour or two south of Minneapolis.
Yeah, it's a big little town. The last time we went fishing, I found out that 2 of my students actually had a YouTube channel, and they go around and do fishing, and this was, like, their time to shine, and they were showing everybody how to set up their line and how to change the different baits and how to change the hooks, and, again, that inclusivity of, like, finding their thing that they do, and it was fun to see them finally in a positive light with their peers, but it's been amazing to see, like, just the growth.
These opportunities for students who are not normally experiencing success in PE are pretty incredible. I'm curious about how you connect some of these non-traditional activities to our standards. So, for example, in this fishing unit, does that connect to something like hand-eye coordination? Is it a social skill that you align with some of these? Can you give an example or two of the non-traditional unit that you teach students and the standard that you teach them in line with it?
We do a lot of standard 4, lifelong habits, personal responsibility. So we have an elective called outdoor activities. And one of our standards is basic techniques in outdoor pursuits. So anything that we do in that will fit in there. There's a lot of personal and social responsibility, and then talking about adding that to the community aspect. A lot of self expression and enjoyment are kind of where a lot of them are. We are not necessarily The standard helps with hand-eye coordination. A lot of it is more social skills and enjoyment in physical activity and finding enjoyment in physical activity.
I really connect with hearing you say that because, I mean, I think that the most important things that students can come away with in a PE experience are enjoyment of physical activity, explicit learning of our standards based social skills, which are so important, not just in the
Yes.
gym, but elsewhere as well. Along with all those things, you can still teach them all of the physical skills. They're still going to get
Yes.
hand eye coordination. They're still going to learn how to catch and throw, for example, but those skills aren't as transferable, or, I might get in trouble for saying this, or as important, I think, as some of the standards based social skills. Do you want to share any other examples of how you weave in standards based social skills into your units or lessons?
Yeah, we have the standard monitor behaviors of self and others aligned to the rules and etiquette of physical activity. So that one I do a lot of. Basically, anything we do, are you self regulated? Are you getting frustrated and then regulating after that? Are you following any type of etiquette? So when we go fishing, like you don't want to stand right next to somebody. You want to make sure you look behind you. Like you said, just these social skills that kids don't learn anywhere else. And PE is such a great time for them to interact and practice these skills where they don't normally get a chance to do that. And I really do find that like the variety you get, you'd have to find something that's going to get them to move for the rest of their life. And, there are standards like talking about providing opportunities, enjoyment, and explain how it can lead to lifelong activities. And we can do different conversations and projects and all those things that go along with that. Like, what did you like about fishing? Is this something you could do again? So, lots of different things.
I really connect with the etiquette standard. It's so important, not just in the gym, not just for the activity that students are going to do outside. So, for example, in your case, if you're teaching students etiquette about fishing and then they're going to go fish outside of class on the weekend or over summer break, they're going to have the etiquette for what it looks like to show up at a lake and not drop your fishing stuff right down next to someone else who was already there, but they're also going to have etiquette in mind when they do other things, when they
Yeah.
are old enough to drive and they're on the road, or if they are in a public library. They understand that there's different types of etiquette that are accepted at different types of settings. And I think it's so powerful that you are teaching them that concept in their physical education experience.
And sometimes it's not so like explicit, like this is how you do it, this is the etiquette. A lot of it is sometimes like trial and error, like, was that the safest option? Could you have chosen a different one? Would it have been better if you looked back before you casted your line? Or if you're on a bike, how do we ride the bike appropriately so that we don't cause a crash? I agree. Sometimes it's conversations that need to be had.
Sometimes you have to tell students directly, like, this is the etiquette that we expect in this type of activity. Other times, it's okay for them to explore and see what that
Yes.
might sound like.
Yes, for sure.
All right, let's move over to some of the community partnerships and local resources that you utilize, because I know that that's also a big part of your practice. Can you share an example of one of those relationships or one of those resources that you use and how it's impacted your PE program and your students' experiences in PE?
Yeah, I'll share a couple. My favorite one is our scuba diving partnership, and not everybody has a pool, and not everybody will have that opportunity, but it is such a cool thing. We have a dive club here in town, and for the last 5 years now, they've come in and taught the kids how to scuba dive, and we scuba dive in our pool, and we just did it last week. And the kids get about an hour or so time under the water with all the gear, and they donate all the volunteers, the time, the equipment, everything. They even go over like hand signals and we do a day in the classroom on resources. It is just so absolutely amazing that they can have this opportunity. And it's been really fun to see them try something that's completely out of the ordinary and then go talk about it. Or I had a kid who signed up for the scuba diving class afterwards. And I've had parents come up to me and talk about how they appreciate that their kid has a baseline of this because they're going to go possibly scuba diving on vacation over spring break. And again, just more options for these kids to have to find something that they like and also offering opportunities. Like I did not scuba dive until I was mid 30s and finally had the opportunity and being able to offer that at such a young age to be like Is this something you're excited about? Is this something you want to pursue? And finding all of those opportunities is just so helpful for all of the kids.
And I think even if it doesn't connect to students actually scuba diving outside of school, the underlying principle is still valuable. It's that we get to try all of these new activities. And, even if scuba diving might not be your thing or you don't have opportunities to do it outside of school or on vacation, you might just be making them more open to trying other activities. You wanted to share a few other examples. So scuba diving is something that you bring in. What other unique opportunities are you able to provide for your students?
So I've worked very closely with our local park and rec department. I think most cities have a local park and rec department, and ours is amazing. It's been super helpful. I've had different opportunities where I've had somebody come in from the park and rec department that they had adaptive PE equipment, and I did not have that. And I was able to use their adaptive archery setup that had a trigger release. So my students who didn't have the finger dexterity to do that were actually able to participate. So using my resources, the local resources to bring things in for my students. I've also worked with them and they've brought in their log rolls for my waterworks class where I could use their equipment for that. They've come in and they've done a lifeguarding presentation. When I was ice fishing, I was able to work with them and they brought in all of the poles for me. They drilled the holes for the ice fishing, just finding those local resources. And it doesn't have to necessarily be out. Sometimes I've also worked with just my coworkers. I had a coworker who's really big into canoeing, and I was like, "Could you bring in a canoe for me? And then I'll teach the kids how to roll it and unroll it." And he was like, "That is so great." And he was super kind and excited about it because, he's passionate about it. So to see somebody else passionate about it. So finding all of the people in your area who have something that could offer your students and benefit them and saying how great of an opportunity it would be.
I think that one of the reasons that some teachers don't reach out to local resources is just because they feel a little bit nervous. What advice do you have for teachers who might want to contact their local rec center or another local resource, but they don't know exactly where to start with it?
That's a great question. So breaking it down, how I started with this was basically just out of need. I had started a brand new class and I did not have enough content or knowledge to fill the course. So it was a lot of like, I would like to be able to do more with this class. What can I do? I say for somebody trying to, just do it. Like the worst they're going to say is no. And it's okay if they say no. I've been told no lots of times. It's okay. Just try the next person. Be very open and honest. I've never had a budget for anybody to come in. If they are passionate about it, most of the time they will be more excited to come and bring this opportunity to your students. But I've always been very upfront like, I do not have a budget. I cannot pay you. Could you please come in? The students would really like it. Social media is such a great thing to use. We had a local dance teacher come in from one of the studios, and the reason I knew that she was able to do this was because I saw a flyer on Facebook that said, "We are offering adaptive dance for your students or like for kids to sign up." And I was like, "Why don't you come in and teach my adaptive class and then I'll give them your flyer and then you can get more people." And if you can find a way to publicize or something just so that they do have a little bit of an incentive knowing that you can't pay them. With my scuba diving people, I brought in the local papers. We've had news cameras in. It's great publicity for them. It's a great way for them to be like, here's a whole plethora of students that you can offer your services to and promote what you are doing. Could you do that for free?
I want to dig a little bit into your mindset because I feel, and I think that this is something that I was guilty of as well. When teachers are in that position, they corner themselves into just doing the traditional units. So let's say you don't have a whole bunch of equipment, or you might not have connections to your community resources. What most teachers do, I think, or at least what I was drawn to doing was, okay, let me just go with the basketball unit that I know is like tried and true because I have 15 basketballs and I can make something work. Same for soccer, same for every other traditional sport. But there was something about you and your situation where you said, no, I'm not going to take that exact route. I'm going to try to figure out ways to bring in community members and teach my students about canoeing and rock climbing and fishing. What is it that made you make that type of decision?
That's a great question. I will say I was not the traditional Phi ed person. I absolutely hated PE when I went through it in school. We were a very traditional, we will play basketball, we will play soccer. I did not like movement. I played sports, but everybody in my, I graduated with less than 100 people. So everybody did sports. Otherwise, you didn't have a sports team. And then when I got to college, I found all of these other opportunities. Like people were playing rugby and they were canoeing and they were doing rock climbing and all of these other things that I'd never been exposed to in my very small town. And I find that so important. And I think I would have been a better mover at a younger age had I had those opportunities. So I think I see myself in those kids who don't want to play those activities. So where we do play basketball and we play soccer, and those are great. And if that is what a kid does, that's awesome. But I really do try and like find the thing to get everybody moving. And I do not have all the resources. I do not have everything that I need to do that. So, in order to be the best teacher for all of my students, I need to find the best resources for them.
It's really powerful to hear you say that, and it's a common theme among the teachers that I get an opportunity to talk with on this podcast, which is that they're not designing their PE program for the 10% of the athletes that are in their class. Their main goal is to provide enjoyment for the overwhelming majority of students, and in that category is students who might be intimidated when they show up in the gym, might be students who just aren't drawn to team or traditional sports. So I really value and appreciate how you took this different approach to it. And you're giving all of these other students the opportunity to experience success in physical education, so that they don't have an experience like the one that you had or similar to the one that I and many other listeners had when we reflect back on what our PE experiences were. Let's connect both of these topics that we talked about today. So you reflected on community partnerships, and then we also started with students feeling that sense of belonging and being able to engage at high levels in your PE program. What impact specifically does the community partnerships aspect of it have on student engagement?
When they come in, it's a different experience for students to have somebody else teach them who's not always me. And then when they go out in the community and they see these opportunities, so when I bring in the canoes, then I know that they can go out and they can go canoeing at our local lake. And they offer those things? And it gives them just this gateway to all of these things that are around us that they might not have been exposed to or even their parents know about. Like bringing in the dance people, like now that they know there is an adaptive dance class that their kid can go and do. Just finding those ways to be a little bit more strategic with what I'm doing. So knowing like they can now go do these things outside and they've seen the people from Park and Rec and they've seen the dance lady and they've seen the scuba people and now they have all these connections.
Yeah, and like we've mentioned before too, it's going to make students feel more comfortable when they're
Yes.
interacting in the community with those resources on their own free time, right?
Yes.
Amanda, I just want to thank you so much for putting this episode together with me. It takes a lot of time, as you know, to plan these things and record them. So, number one, thank you so much for sharing your experience and your expertise with all of our listeners. And number two, I forgot at the beginning to congratulate you on your 2025 Minnesota Shape Teacher of the Year Award. So, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.